but you can learn new habits, new vocal things. Remember, it's not inauthentic, it's just new. It can't be inauthentic. Sounds are literally coming from inside of you, and how your breath and muscles work together. It's 100% you. You're just unfamiliar with it. Welcome to the Foster Your Voice podcast with me, Christy Foster. After a 30-year career in music and theater, I never imagined I'd be coaching trial attorneys. But once I entered your world, I quickly realized how critical and underutilized voice is in the courtroom. The truth is, you don't win trials with brute strength. You win with your voice. I'll give you tools to unlock your voice so you can communicate not just with purpose, but on purpose. If you want quick action tips to help you stay calm and in control, keep jurors engaged, and inspire your listeners to action, all through the power of your voice, you're in the right place. I'm Christy Foster, and I'm here to help you foster your voice. Hello, welcome. So glad to have the Foster fam together again today. So let me just ask you quick. Have you already left your star rating and a quick written review? If not, and you're not currently driving, could you just grab your phone and do it for me real fast? I really did not understand before I started podcasting how having those reviews and ratings helps other people find the podcast. So help a girl out, okay? And hey, you can also just share the show with someone. Tell them you have this really cool friend with super cool glasses that has a lot of good stuff to share. So I do it for you. You know I would. So, speaking of friends and sharing things, before we get into today's episode, I just had to share with you about this amazing memorial service I attended last week. I know that sounds really weird to say about a memorial service that usually is a more somber experience, but I just haven't stopped thinking about it. There were so many tears, but because we were laughing so hard and our hearts were just brimming over with the joy of being together. So let me explain. My beautiful friend Darcy lost a long fought battle with lung cancer. Just a side note, she would want me to tell you to get your homes tested for radon. Anyway, what a warrior she was, and we are so proud of her and her valiant fight. Now, Darcy was a masterful, creative, vibrant music director in the Portland theater scene, and she hosted a monthly cabaret show called Cabaret White that boasted a steady rotation of local talent for a night of music and comedy and togetherness. So, when it got near the end for her, she wanted to plan and produce her final Cabaret White to be performed once she was gone. She brought a film crew into the venue and she recorded video messages to introduce each of the performers. And not only that, but she recorded audio in order to interject into the performances themselves. So, like, the first performer got up and began to sing his song. And then we hear this voice come on over the overhead saying, "No, no, no, Dan, we talked about this. You're not doing that song." And then he changed songs, and this shtick went on, and we absolutely fell out laughing. She hosted a happy hour before the performance with an open bar and snacks, and then we packed into this theater for a standing room only finale of Cabaret White. I mean, it was perfection. And it was all these longtime theater folks that just loved Darcy and loved each other. And anyway, it just got me thinking about legacy and how I want to bring people together with joy all the way up to and even after my passing. And also that we shouldn't wait for weddings and funerals to connect with people we hold in our hearts. We always say that, but what do we do about it? So, anyway, it's kind of a weird way to start today, but I just had to talk about it and share what a phenomenal experience that was. And I'm now a big fan of planning your own memorial service. So, anyway, rest in peace, Darcy. You know what I hate? Being misunderstood. It's actually one of my biggest fears, if I'm honest, right up there with birds. Yes, I'm afraid of birds. Leave me alone about it already. Being misunderstood is just the worst, though. Trying to communicate something and seeing that it's just not landing the way you intend. Too harsh of tone with your kid or spouse that ended up setting them off. A thinking face that got interpreted as annoyance or irritation and ended up shutting down the conversation and leaving you baffled. It's so frustrating in our personal lives, but in the courtroom, your mismatched communication profile could break your case and lose you a deserving verdict. So, I've created a free guide to get you thinking about the emotional profiles you create. It's a printable guide to help you 10x your communication impact by mastering 6 emotional profiles for clear and authentic connection. I break down the 6 core emotions: happy, sad, love, pride, anger, and fear by giving you face, body, and breathing cues. Plus, I show you exactly which point on a 1 to 10 scale you should be with your pitch, pace, melody, volume, and tone in order to authentically capture the center of that core emotion. The link to get your free guide is in the show notes or by simply going to my website, fostervoicestudio.com. Don't wait to clear up your part of miscommunication and misunderstandings. Get your free download today. Today, I want to share with you my 5 fundamental truths about nonverbal communication and vocal development. These are the 5 foundational principles that shape my approach to how I teach voice and serve as the anchor for my coaching practice. So, the first fundamental truth is that your voice is an instrument. It has range. It can be learned. It can be explored, and it can be developed. You may think that your voice is just your voice, like it just happened. But in actuality, your voice, the voice you have now, is the result of a series of behaviors. You didn't come out just knowing words. You learned words and you gave them voice by mimicking whoever was teaching you that word. That's a repetitive behavior. Your current voice is not your natural voice. It's your habitual voice. You learned to speak by mimicking others, by a habit. Now, if you're around my age or in my generation or older, you'll remember the days of landlines. For you youngsters out there that grew up in a cellular age, these moments where you just feel really old. Right. Anyway, we used to have a family phone, one that we all used that was fixed to our kitchen wall, or eventually we got a cordless phone, but it was still a family phone. So it was not uncommon to answer, "Hello, Foster residence," and for the woman on the other side to say, "Hi, Faye, I was just calling to ask you about..." Now, Faye is my mom. So then I'd have to interrupt, "Oh, I'm sorry, this is her daughter, Christy. Let me get her for you." To which I would then hear, "Oh, you sound just like your mom on the phone." We create our habitual voice by creating communication habits, habits that have been modeled to us by our parents or within our culture that we've picked up through the years. But you can learn new habits, new vocal things. Remember, it's not inauthentic, it's just new. It can't be inauthentic. Sounds are literally coming from inside of you, and how your breath and muscles work together. It's 100% you. You're just unfamiliar with it. Now, the unusual thing about your voice being a learnable, skill based instrument is that, unlike other instruments like a trumpet, a violin, a flute, a piano, it's all cellular and muscular. So, just like all your cells and all your muscles, it's constantly changing because it's dynamic and organic. Do you have a morning voice? You know, that first thing in the morning before you've been around people, the first sounds you utter don't sound like you at all. It can feel like your voice is an octave lower when you first wake up. The muscles have been resting. And just like if you were to hit the gym, you're not going to start lifting weights at your 1 rep max. You start small and warm up the muscles, warm up the nervous system, get your breath working for you. In the gym and in the courtroom, your body is your instrument, and your voice is part of the body system. Pay attention to how warming up helps. Pay attention to how hydration helps. Your voice needs water to function properly. We don't have any other instruments that we have to water, but your voice, you do. Pay attention to how sleep and hormone levels and inflammation and postnasal drip all affect your instrument. Learning how to navigate and care for your body is a critical part of learning how to play your instrument. So, the first fundamental truth is that your voice is an instrument. The second fundamental truth kind of piggybacks on that, or at least is related, and it's this: external listening is better than internal hearing. So, let's pick that apart a little bit. You are the only one in the world that is hearing yourself internally. Not only that, but you have physical sensations of speaking. Like you know when your throat is scratchy or when it feels kind of thick. You're the only one with that information. Also, you're the only one that has any emotional connection to your voice. You know when you're feeling nervous or when you're embarrassed, insecure, uncertain, or when the broken soundtracks of your past come to haunt you at inopportune times. Direct things, insensitive or unthoughtful things that people have said to you, like, are you sure choir is for you? Maybe you want to do band instead. Or indirect things that you just picked up on, like, women in the courtroom sound screechy or bitchy when they use their upper voice or their louder voice. Those thoughts are all part of an emotional experience that shape your perception of your voice, and no one else has that. You have a unique three-pronged experience of your voice. It's resonating off of your skeleton. You're familiar with the internal physical mechanics, and you have emotional baggage that goes with it. That three-pronged experience is solely yours. So, when it comes to being strategic about your delivery and reception, you and your experience is not the best judge of things. You are not objective. That's why our fundamental truth states that external listening is better than internal hearing. When you're trying to really gauge your effectiveness or trying to assess the success of infusing meaning into your content, you can't trust your internal hearing yet. You will be able to, but you have to learn to recalibrate first. So many of my clients, or even just anyone I talk to, they almost always say, I haven't really thought about whether I like my voice, but oh gosh, I hate hearing myself on playback. It sounds awful. Well, I hate to be the one to tell you, but that is your actual voice. That is the voice we all experience externally. But here's the thing. You have friends. I mean, I presume so. You have people who love you. If you're a parent, you have children who love your voice, and they're learning their voice from you. Part of this new season of vocal development must address this disconnect between your internal hearing and everyone else's external listening. You have to hear yourself on playback and don't immediately dismiss it as bad. That's just your habit brain giving a jerk response and assigning a quality to something it doesn't understand. And actually, I intend that double meaning. It's a jerk response in that it's quick and snaps to judgment, but it's also a jerk response in that it's not true, helpful, or kind. This is where vocal coaching can really accelerate your learning. A vocal coach will help interrupt that jerk response. They'll tell you the truth from their external experience and give you tools to recalibrate your definitions so that you can build trust with yourself and create the safety you need to grow into the type of public speaker you want to be. So just a side note, I do offer vocal assessment sessions where we start with this internal versus external discussion about your voice. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in taking me up on it. In the meantime, learn to accept that you might not be the best judge. So start from grace and assume the best instead of assigning the worst and reacting with disgust. Be strategic about getting feedback through recording and reviewing or working with a coach that can give you honest feedback, but also be strategic, personalized, and give you corrective techniques. Now, I said I had 5 fundamental truths, and I do. So next week, I'll share the other 3 with you. So plan to listen next Monday. Until then, keep fostering your voice. Thanks for pulling up a seat with me today and for being part of the Foster fam. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, go ahead and leave a review or a comment so I can give you a shout out on a future episode. During the week, you can find me on Instagram at Foster Voice Studio, where I'm dropping little nuggets of vocal technique and leadership wisdom. You can also join my mailing list by visiting fostervoicestudio.com or by clicking the link in the show notes. I'll send a weekly vocal tip every Tuesday directly to your inbox. Until then, keep fostering your voice.